Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And as this is hot off the presser, we're proudly sponsored by High Point Access Limited, your number one-stop shop for all your working at heights and roofing needs. If you mention the Ramble when you're asking for a quote, you'll receive 10% off any works. Find their details in all the links below. Thank you to High Point Access Limited for your continued support of the Blades Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is hot off the presser. How are we all? Are we all okay? I'm very well today. I am very, very well. Nice to see you on this fine Thursday afternoon. We've just had Ruben Selles' press conference. One thing I will say is how ridiculous, how unprofessional of Sheffield United to have sound issues at the beginning of their stream. It was absolutely laughable. How any self-respecting streamer or professional outfit can expect to do anything like that and not have their sound sorted properly. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. All joking aside, it's good to see that even the professionals get it wrong from time to time. So, we'll start off. We'll get into what Ruben Selles has been saying, but the first bit was very quiet because I don't think the mics were turned on. It was really quiet and really hard to make out. So, he speaks in a foreign tongue, in slightly broken. He's very good in terms of his English speaking, but it's not as easy for me to make out as, say, Chris Wilder speaking, obviously. Then I could hardly hear him. So, and he talks really quickly. So everything I'm about to say to you is definitely paraphrasing rather than accurate to the word. So forgive me if I get one or two little bits not quite right. I was writing ridiculously fast because I haven't yet set up a couple of these things where it records your sound for you anyway. I'm not sure it would have picked that one up, to be honest. Anyway, let's get to it. Rob Staten from Radio Sheffield this morning, or this afternoon, was asking the questions first. It usually goes, BBC Radio Sheffield get the first dibs, then Danny Hall gets the second dibs, and I still don't know who the third interviewer is. Sorry. So we'll soon find that out, but there were a couple of questions just at the end as well. So Rob starts us off. And he says, Ruben, there's been several links to Sheffield United. Can we first hear whether there's any truth to this? I don't know what you'll be able to speak about and what you won't. But is there any truth to it? And can we expect to see them soon, if so? And he said, yes. And I think he said, we can expect 2 to 3 players in before the weekend. I thought that's what I heard. Correct me in the comments if you think I've misheard that. But I thought he said, because that was the first question when the sound were cream crackered, I thought he said we can expect to see 2 or 3 players for the weekend. That doesn't mean they're going to be ready to play. That doesn't mean they're going to sign in time, which is the question he comes on to. The positions that you're looking at have primarily been defenders. He says, well, that was the priority. It was defenders. Those are the positions that we're hoping to get in sooner rather than later. And then Rob started to go through the names individually. And he said, Ben Godfrey, first of all. Can I ask you if there's any truth to that one? He says, yep, Ben's a very good player. He's played in the Premier League. He fits the profile that we're looking at. He's a straight shooter, this Ruben Selles, and I love it. So, yes, he's a player that we're looking at, we're interested in. Very good player from his time in the Premier League. Nils Zetterstrom, known as this on this channel as Matty, because Andy the Blade hadn't a clue about people's names. He says, is Nils Zetterstrom a realistic target for Sheffield United? He says, yeah. We're looking at young players across Europe. They're always on our radar. Of course, we need players also with experience of the Championship. But yes, we are looking at players across Europe. So he didn't say yes, definitely for Nils Zetterstrom, but he certainly didn't say no. We know that that's a deal that Sheffield United are working on. Rob then said, Ben Mee. Ben Mee's a name that's been mentioned. He said, yeah, Ben's been training with us this week. That hasn't crept out anywhere, has it? I didn't know about that. I knew we'd offered him a contract, but he's been training with us this week. So Ben's somebody that we're having a real close look at, and we like the look of him. I know that we've reported that we've offered him a deal. The Blades Ramble have reported it, and in amongst other people as well. We've offered him a deal, so it's not just looking at him. It's somebody that we're keen on. But whether we actually push the button on a deal, whether he even accepts it, are two different things. He said he needed somewhere to train, and we've offered him that, and he's looked good. And we'll come on to that in a minute as well. Japhet Tanganga. Are you interested in Japhet Tanganga, says Rob, direct to Ruben. And he says, names like this, playing in the Championship, I prefer not to comment on, to be honest. We're playing them at the weekend, so I don't think it's really fair to comment on other clubs' players when it's in such close proximity. I think is where we're going to with it, basically. Again, not a no. Not a no. Will any of them be signed in time for Saturday? Great question, one that we all want to know. And he said, yes, there's a chance that they could be involved. Love that. Absolutely love that. That's encouraging then. What have been your... I don't know where I've gone with this, but he says, that's encouraging then. And then what have you been saying to the players, I assume it's going to be? He says, well, we've been quite demanding. We're working to get... Oh, encouraging. What is the signing process and how involved are you? He says, we target the position. The recruitment department then go off and sort of look at the players that fit the profile of the position that we're after. We can also throw some names in there and recommend a player if we want to. We work together with recruitment. And Rob was saying, what sort of things have changed? He says, well, we've been a bit more demanding in what we want to do. We're working together, and we've also sought permission for the board to go after these sort of players. The names discussed, says Rob, are all defenders. Are you looking elsewhere on the field for players? He says, absolutely we are. The defenders are the priority, but we have 11 players that have left this club, and we've only got 3 loans in. We need more. That was brilliant for me to hear him say, and I think a lot of Blades will feel the same, because yes, we've made signings. We've made permanent development signings, which the AI signings as they've been come to known, but he's not including players like Polendikov, the 18-year-old kid, as a first-team signing. Whether that's subconsciously or not that he's answered that question, or whether it's a determined effort to say, we've only got 3 loan players in, he clearly only classes Samare, Barry and Bindon as first-team players that we've acquired this summer. So that is good in terms of what him feeling like we're at a deficit of 8 players. He says we've had 11 players leave and 3 loans in. We need more. Love that. Love that. That's some of us have been saying in the Platinum chat, how many do we need? And I remember Lee Edridge saying he thinks we need about 8. We're not going to get 8. I'll be shocked if we get 8. But it looks more likely that we're going to get around at least 5, you would say at the moment, wouldn't it, in terms of the type of players that we're looking at. Is there any change? Will that have to change if others leave? He says the target is to not sell anyone, but never say never. The last few days of the window, the price goes up, but the plan is to keep everyone. He says, what sort of message have you been giving to the players? He says, we've been analysing the last 3 games, what's gone wrong and what we can do. We're always working on standards, and we need to be ready for Saturday. Standard comment, to be fair. What's gone wrong, Ruben, in the first 3 games? He says, well, different things really. The first game, it was discipline when we lost the ball and we couldn't reset right and get into the transition at the weekend. And midweek was slightly different because obviously we played a rotated side, I assume he means. But at the weekend, it was more about emotions and feelings. I thought that were an interesting take. He said, we were trying a little bit too hard after the Bristol game, or trying to win the Bristol game, he said, rather than Swansea. So my assumption for that was that we were trying too hard. You could also interpret it as we were trying not to concede and trying to protect ourselves and defend ourselves and not be further damaged like we were at Bristol. So against Bristol City, sorry. So either way you look at it, he views it a little bit like we did in terms of there were 2 completely different Achilles heels in those games. How do you change it, Ruben? Says Rob. Straight up question. Things happen in football. I've been thrown into different situations before. You're always going to have bad moments. Sometimes it comes at the beginning of the season. Sometimes it's in the middle or at the end. The easiest way is to analyse it clearly, but don't overanalyse it. I've been there before, and that is the formula to changing it. one action can change a game. So what he's saying is don't dwell too much on, or again, this is my interpretation of it, don't dwell too much on one or two actions in a game. Stick to what you know and stick to your principles, and he's hoping it will come good. Win on Saturday, it's great, says Rob, but lose and it's 4 defeats in a row. It's amazing how these sort of, when you talk about actions can change a game, it's a lot of pressure, says Rob, in so many words. We know we need to win every match at Sheffield United, otherwise you're going to face pressure, said Ruben. We're aware of that. We know that. We're going to go out on Saturday for the victory. Transfer talk is positive, says Rob, but do you have a message to the fans? And he said, it's not started how we wanted, but we have to move on to Saturday and we need them by our side. Come on Saturday, support the boys, and we'll try and give them a team they recognise that gives 100%. Any injuries? He said no, only Tommy Doyle, Jamie Shackleton and Ollie Arblaster. None of them are training, but that's not new news. What kind of game do you expect at the weekend? He says that, well, Millwall are a really competitive side. They switch formations and approach depending on the opponent. They play with 2 forwards and they're strong at set plays. We'll need to be ready on Saturday. And then Danny Hall took the mic and said, what's changed this week, Ruben, in terms of it seems to be swift transfer action and rumours now. What's changed? And he said, we're coming to the end of the window, or we're starting to approach the end of the window. That's one part of it. But we're also more aligned now with what we want to do in terms of the finances and the age profiles, etc. You said last time that the recruitment collectively has not been good enough, says Danny. What's changed there? He says we've adapted. We're more direct in our approach now. It's made us better. All parts are working towards this after I spoke to you last time. Danny said, talk about losing players. And have you spoken to the owners about the need to keep them? He says, yes, if we lose players, it needs to be in an extraordinary circumstances. The target is to keep them all with us. But are you succession planning, says Danny, in terms of, what if we leave Gus? What if we lose Gus? What if we lose Michael Cooper? Have we got replacements lined up? He says every club has to do that. You have to plan for transfers or injuries. We need to plan, especially towards the end of the transfer window, but that's not unique to Sheffield United. Danny says, you spoke about Ben Mee earlier. Is he fit? That's the big question. He says, yeah, he's fit. He says he's training really well. He's clearly been taking care of himself. And did you say that it'd probably be next week there are decisions made on him? He says, yes, it'll be next week that we make a decision on Ben Mee. I think that's what was said anyway. Danny says he clearly provides leadership that you're after. Would you agree? He says, yes, we've tracked him previously at other clubs. He's been a very strong Premier League player, dominant, and the character was a big consideration for us as well. You've had a tough start. How do you overcome it, basically, was where Danny was going with this one, I think. He says, I'm getting tired of this question, to be honest. It's the same question every club I go to, because we don't tend to start well. I've been in similar positions before, not necessarily in the Championship, but at my previous club, we didn't start well with Reading. I've been able to overcome it and move to the next level with the club. The key is to remain calm. Don't be overprotective in certain areas. Hopefully, we're able to change this start to a better new chapter. Danny says, yeah, talking about not being overprotective and being brave, that's something that's served you well. He says, there's a point you get hit and you're down, but it doesn't have to change from 0 to 100. We have to stick to the same... we've still got the same ability and qualities that we had 10 games ago, and you can't let it cloud your judgment just because of the last few games. And then the final interviewer took over and just asked the last few questions. He says, everyone wants players to compete, don't they? Because it's not just fans, but the manager needs competition within the squad. He says, yes, we need that competition to bring out the best in the team. How have you gone about lifting spirits, said the interviewer. He says, yeah, we're directing our efforts towards individuals. It's a team effort, but we also work with individuals too. So everyone knows their job. But that's no different to how we normally work. It's just maybe a little bit more detail this time. It's just human nature that they might need a little bit more direction at this time. Does this bring the best out in you, these sort of situations, if you can look at a silver lining in it? He says, yeah, I thought these last two were really good answers. He says, yeah, you sometimes have to ask yourself, is this all that I've got to offer? And obviously it's not. I need to fight to the very end for what you want. I've done that for the last 3 years. This is part of my character. And he says, yeah, this club demands that, doesn't it? He says any club would demand it. But more importantly, it's my perspective on myself. I need to make sure I'm doing the right things. I'm responsible, and I have to turn this around. Loved it. Loved it. Again, he's a very good communicator, certainly in that environment. We've heard rumours about him not being as warm with the players, but you don't have to be. You don't have to be everybody's pal there. And you know, it's a nicer environment if you are. And we might have got this totally wrong anyway. That might not be true. That he might just be different to Chris Wilder, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So it's another really interesting, really informative press conference from Ruben Selles, and really exciting. Obviously, a couple of names didn't get mentioned there, which are just very, very new. But we'll see what you guys have to say about it, because we're back tonight. We count down to kick off, where we can have a proper discussion where we get into everything, and I'll give you more of my thoughts on stuff and what I'm hearing. But we'll get into some of your comments right now, and then we'll wrap it up. So Terry Turnbull says, let's hope he can give us some positive transfer news. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. I'm just making sure I'm in line with everything. Sorry, we've got some work going on. I don't know if you can hear that in background. Josh says, have you got an update on the situation with Robbo? Really sick of seeing him leading the team out. A terrible example to the kids, both in youth teams and in the stands. Again, your opinion, that, Josh. But I'm not saying I disagree, but it's your opinion. I think the Callum Doyle thing throws a bit of a spanner in the works. Callum Doyle to Wrexham, because that's a left-footed centre-half. Some are saying it'll probably still happen. I don't know is the honest answer, so I'll see where I can get. Matt says, afternoon, Jimmy. What 24 hours it's been from doom to amazing again. If we can get billing, then wow. Yeah, that was a name mentioned, wasn't it, this morning? We'll talk about that a bit more tonight if you want. Afternoon, Blades. Good news on the horizon. Probably too late for points this weekend. But fingers crossed, up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Reminds me of a D-Ream song. You can walk my path. Kev says, afternoon, Jimmy. Just hope we can get these players in. I was starting to get a bit worried. Great to see you back in the taxi. Missed them. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Thank you, Kev. They are over on Behind the Ramble for anybody that wants to see what goes off a bit behind the scenes. We put a little bit more content on there just last couple of days. I've uploaded my day in London today from yesterday. So yeah, if you're interested in what goes on behind the scenes at Ramble a little bit, then there's some content over there at Behind the Ramble on YouTube. Andy Matt says, please tell me that Jack Robinson is moving somewhere else. Never a leader. Will be stuck with him. Anyone who saw his abuse of the linesman won't touch him with a barge pole. Keep up the good work, Jimmy. Up the Ramble. The smiles are back on our faces. What a fickle bunch we are. Come on, you red and white wizards. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. In terms of Jackie Longthrow, not entirely sure, to be honest. I think if he's look, Wrexham signed James McLean and Paul Mullin. They're not bothered about. I think they're quite like trying to be the new Wimbledon of old, if you like. I think they're quite like that in-your-face, aggressive sort of throwback style, and I think he fits in, to be honest with that. But that's just my opinion. I don't think it'll put him off in terms of character. It's whether they feel they've got a higher quality player in, which they have in Callum Doyle, but whether they now need him as an option at all. So we'll see. All this positive news doesn't feel right, says Scott. Where's the Rangers, Wrexham or Brum hijack tweets? Don't, mate. Don't. Could happen, couldn't it? Let's get it done quickly. Afternoon, Jimmy and all the Ramblers, says David. Afternoon, pal. Beast Boy says Billing would be a real statement signing. Really hope we can get him. Nowhere near done yet. Nowhere near done. Again, we'll talk about it tonight. Scott says, sorry, I had a thought. Surely we need to get these centre-backs in before Saturday, because Robbo and RND seeing these deals lined up be a slap in the face, and what's stopping them down in tools? Already seen it, haven't we? Already seen it, I think. I have to say, I don't think Jack Robinson down tools against Swansea. I don't think that's the case at all. He was disappointing against Birmingham, but I don't think he down tools against them. Hi, Jim, says Super Sharp Blades. Hi, pal. Hope you're okay. Bean says, yesterday was obviously positive, but we can't go into Saturday starting the same defence. One defender at least should be in by now. We're throwing games away currently. Come on, Bean. You can't, after the day we had yesterday, you can't be upset at the progress. I know we'd all like it to be faster. We'd all like defenders in now. And I'm sure he's just said, hopefully some will be done before Saturday. All good. Heard him say 2, didn't hear 3. Okay, mate. Okay, so 2 will be done for the weekend. Bean says, I hope whoever interviews Betis after the window asks about whether things are going to be done to increase the speed of our transfers. If we lose Saturday, fans will be negative again. 2 to 3 before the weekend. Don't get me excited, Jimmy. Mark Meldrew just corrected me, saying he only heard 2. So we'll go for 2 to be safe. That's what Ruben said. I'm really hoping they give Sayers a good chance. Let's kick on now, says Jack. We're already 6 points behind. We don't mind giving teams a head start, do we? We're Sheffield United. Night says, afternoon, Jimmy and fellow Ramblers. Afternoon, pal. Coates, he says, Ben, me training was definitely out there. I thought I'd heard it on here. No, he was training with Sheffield Wednesday, and we noted the interest, that we were interested. I didn't know he was training with Sheffield United. I don't think anybody did. I've not seen that reported anywhere. It was rumoured to be about to go training with Wednesday, or was actually starting training with Wednesday, and we were going to nab him at that stage. So I don't think the training with us has been out there personally. I might be wrong, Coatsy. I might just not have seen it. Tim says, hi, Jimmy. Do you know exactly who the football person in control of our recruitment? Sounds like someone acting like a director of football. Carl Sheba's got a lot of say in it. I think Mikey Allen is back in favour, who's our chief scout. In effect, I don't know if that's his official title. Obviously, Jamie Hoyland works in the recruitment department. I don't know the official figurehead, but from what I'm hearing, the previous regime's scouting department is back at the forefront of what we're doing, which would make sense that we're now being linked with more domestic-based players, which is great for us as fans because we recognise them and we can understand where they fit into positions. But I don't know official names, Tim, in terms of who has the final. I don't think it is an individual has a final say. I do think it is a collective, and the manager said early doors in one of his press conferences that he would have the final say on who comes in, which I hope is true. Finn says, do we think this was planned to leave it this late, or they just panicked? I think it's a panic move, mate. Not complaining either way if we get what we need come the 31st. Absolutely right. Just got back from hospital. Eye is good. All went well. Just got to heal now. Great to hear, David. All the best with the recovery, mate. Yeah, we're thinking about you, pal. Andy says, sounds good. I'm still positive despite the start. Hopefully we can have enough to beat Millwall, but a tough game, real tough game. I think we're going to get bullied all over the park. We need a couple in, don't we? We need a couple in, ideally. Finn says, still wouldn't say I'm convinced on the gaffer, but it's early days. Hopefully, once he's got his players in, the results will follow up them blades. Yeah, we can talk about that as well tonight, probably. Rick says, fingers crossed you get your targets and smash the championship. Up the Ramble, up the blades. Marching on together. Thank you, Rick. One of those that's come over from our work with Connor, I assume, from One Leeds, but I appreciate that. I've seen you here a few times, pal. Aaron says, good presser again from Sayers. I like the way he's straight with his answers on players. Me too. A lot avoid those direct yes-nos, don't they? But I'm really pleased with how he answers those questions. Callum Doyle to Wrexham, nearly done. A fan posted a photo with him in a full Wrexham training kit, says Scott. And does that? Don't bother me that in so much as us losing Callum Doyle. It's more, does it knock the Jack Robinson deal on the head? I was scared the blow your socks off signing was going to be Oxlade Chamberlain. No. Nath says, hi Jimmy, no matter what has happened previously, it says, always fills me with confidence. 2-0 Blades this weekend, up the Blades, up the Ramble, up the Ruben Selles era. Nice, nice. I remember Chris Wilder always used to do that with me. Whenever we were in a down period, he'd always be able to turn it around and sort of make me feel good after his press conference. So, yeah, it's good that Ruben Selles has started strong with these, isn't it? Because I think he's very good as well. Tom Fox says, are there definitely new signings before Saturday then? He says 2. He says 2 before Saturday that will be eligible to play. I have to say that's a brave comment. We're on Thursday afternoon. They need to sign before 12 o'clock on Friday. So something is going to be happening in the next 24 hours or less than. And it's not directly in his control, that is it? He obviously he's the manager and he's been told that on good authority or he wouldn't say it. But he's been let down previously because he said stuff like this before. So I hope it comes true more for Sayers than anything else, because otherwise he's going to look like, you know, he don't really know what's happening at his own club, really. James says, I genuinely thought the links with Robbo to Wrexham and especially Phil Parkinson were purely for his long throw. Good 24 hours for us, however. Hope they get sealed. Me too, pal. Me too. Steve Snell says, not being negative, but there's 22 hours to Friday's deadline. We're still sat with the same squad to pick from. We're going to get bullied by Millwall, and the situation will be worse and toxic. He's had 5 days to strengthen. We'll see. We'll see. By the time I come on tonight at 7 o'clock, Steve, things may be very different already. Maybe very different already. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Because like you say, we've not a lot of time, and I'm with you on that. But he's just said two bodies in that will be eligible for Saturday, and I hope he's right. Who are the signings who are close? You'd be speculating. I would say Ben Godfrey, and I think Nils Zetterstrom might be too far. I've said that. He said Ben Mee. They're going to make a decision on next week. I don't think Tanganga will get approved, so it must be Zetterstrom and Godfrey. That would be my guess. I've been told continuously that Woo is close. He's been close for a long time, though, so how close we don't know. Can you imagine Godfrey and Woo coming in for the weekend? That would be a real bonus for us. So we'll see. We'll see. Hyder, I don't know what WEM means, but I'm going to call it there because I'm at the end of the comments. I'm not going to stay on any longer than we need to be because we are back tonight for Countdown to Kickoff, and we can have a much wider conversation about what we think's happening. I might have an update or two. I'm not promising that, by the way, but I might be more aware of what's gone off. Some news might have happened by 7 o'clock tonight, so we'll have to wait and see. Things are clearly moving very quickly. Brett says, waiting for Sayers to pick up the Sheffield accent and see it gradually in his pressers, like Julio Giorgio in the fast shot. Yep, or the other way, like Steve McLaren when he went to 2020. Hi, Jimmy from the far north. Hi, Scottish Blade. Hope you're good. Is the blow your socks off signing Cam Archer by any chance? Nobody would blow my socks off. Andrew says, hi, Jimmy. What about Sam Mullock at centre half on Saturday? It's good in the air, just as backup if no one comes in for Saturday. Do you mean Sam McCallum? Because he's good in the air? No, Andrew. Surely not. Surely not. Right. I'm definitely calling it there because we can't have a comment like that. No, I'm only kidding. But thank you to everyone for joining us. I will see you all this evening at 7 o'clock. Really good presser from Ruben. We can expect 2 players to come in before the weekend, which is really, really positive. So we'll see if that comes true. Hopefully it does before we see you tonight at 7 o'clock. See you there. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. All the blades!